I am literally still trying to regulate my central nervous system right now. Like, I need you to just picture this.
Oh, I am picturing it, and I am terrified.
Right. We have a fully grown adult woman standing in the middle of Dallas, Texas, in this massive luxury rental home, screaming at the absolute top of her lungs about a basement and a chili cheese Frito.
A chili cheese Frito, I mean, the absolute juxtaposition of it all is just staggering.
It really is.
Because this was entirely designed to be this, like, upscale, sophisticated tequila brand activation. It was supposed to be about botanical notes and networking.
Yes, exactly.
But instead, it systematically devolved into a psychological proxy war over an 8-year-old internet rumor and a highly suspicious plate of oysters.
A plate of oysters. I cannot. But wait, before we fully spiral, babes, happy Monday. We love you. We see you. And babes, the wine is on deck.
It is heavily, heavily required after what we just witnessed. We need a liquid buffer between their terrible life choices and our own sanity.
Truly. And, we're feeling soft tonight. So yes, babes, the peach rosé wine is officially on deck. And babes, it is so good.
It really is.
You have to understand the specific emotional frequency I am vibrating on right now because of this peach rosé. Like,
Yeah.
I poured it, and immediately my entire posture changed. It absolutely radiates rich ant energy.
Well, let's analyze that aesthetic for a second, right? Because rich on energy is a very specific socioeconomic aspiration.
Oh, highly specific.
It's the aunt who operates completely outside the family hierarchy. Like, she shows up to Thanksgiving dinner in a flowing silk caftan, quietly hands you a crisp $100 bill, tells your mother her turkey is dangerously dry, and then floats back out to an idling Mercedes.
Yes, I am screaming.
She has no dependence, only boundaries. That is exactly what you are drinking right now.
Exactly. Holding a glass of peach rosé instantly makes you feel like 20% prettier. I do not make the rules. It is purely psychological science.
Completely. When you are holding the stemware and the condensation is dripping down the side and the color has that perfect blushing hue, you suddenly become totally unbothered. Your skin is glowing. You are immune to minor inconveniences.
As your resident, highly opinionated, completely unlicensed sommelier, I can confirm this vintage has distinct notes of chaos, underlying hints of delusion, and a very aggressive, unapologetic finish.
The finish is aggressive.
But we have to be honest with ourselves and with you listening right now. The danger of this specific aesthetic is that one glass of rich ant energy inevitably turns into 4 glasses of sending an emotionally volatile voice note to your ex at 1 in the morning.
Oh no, do not call me out like that.
The line between sophistication and spiraling is incredibly thin.
Okay, fair. But we have to establish a core truth here. Summer wine fundamentally tastes better than winter wine.
Well, that is just science, right? Winter wine is purely for surviving. It is thick, it is heavy, it stains your teeth. You drink a Cabernet in January because it gets pitch black outside at 4:30 in the afternoon. The wind hurts your face, and you just need a hug from the inside to endure the evening.
A hug from the inside, I love that.
But summer wine is for thriving, it is for rooftop gossip, it is for wearing linen, and it is for pretending you own a boat.
I cannot argue with the seasonal methodology there. I mean, winter wine is a coping mechanism for seasonal affective disorder. Summer wine is a personality trait. It requires an audience.
It really, really does. And speaking of coping mechanisms, it's Sunday evening, and babes, we are so excited to get into tonight's mess.
Excited is one word. Deeply unsettled on a cellular level is another word.
Housewives Sundays are practically a sacred religious experience for me. I literally have a highly specific routine that I cannot deviate from. The candles must be lit. The phone goes on, do not disturb. The snacks are arranged symmetrically on the coffee table. I was already emotionally invested and physically stressed out before the Bravo chime even played on my television.
Your Apple Watch was probably judging you.
It actually sent me an alert that my resting heart rate had spiked.
Which is entirely justified because Atlanta always delivers top-tier, unhinged chaos.
Always.
If we break this down from a strategic perspective, it is like watching the Super Bowl, but the linebackers are wearing stilettos and fighting over Instagram direct messages.
Yes. Oh, my God.
You cannot just watch it. You have to analyze the plays. Who fumbled the read? Who intercepted the shade? Who is getting benched for acting completely delusional? You have to respect the athleticism of the verbal combat.
You really do.
Yeah.
But here is the problem with me. The Housewives spiraling inevitably becomes my personal drama.
Oh, you take it on completely.
I take it on. I absorb it into my spirit. Like, we are spiraling because they are spiraling. We are all just collectively losing our minds together on a Sunday night. I'm sitting on my couch yelling at the screen, acting like I have a dog in this fight when these women do not even know I exist.
It is the ultimate parasocial stress response, honestly. We use reality television as an emotional release valve.
That is so deep.
Well, we project our own interpersonal frustrations onto these women, which allows us to process our own anxiety through their highly produced, deeply messy conflicts. When K. Michelle is having a meltdown over an oyster, you aren't just watching her, right? You are processing every time you have ever felt targeted or misunderstood.
That is so true. It is collective therapy, but with way more screaming.
Yeah.
But honestly, I really needed this outlet tonight because we actually had such a good day.
Oh, here we go.
Because, babes, it was 80 degrees outside.
And here comes the seasonal delusion. I can feel the shift in your aura from here.
Please let me live in this. The first genuinely hot day of the year fundamentally alters your brain chemistry. Like, sun hits your face, and all the seasonal depression you have been harboring just evaporates.
Evaporates entirely.
Instant summer confidence activates. Suddenly, you have this urgent, primal, biological need for rooftop drinks. You want to romanticize your entire life just because the weather improved. I was walking down the street today like I was the main character in a romantic comedy. I felt invincible.
I am highly, highly judgmental of the seasonal delusion. You get one single ray of direct UV light, the mercury rises past 75, and suddenly you think you are starring in a music video.
I was.
It is a Tuesday. You are walking to the pharmacy to buy allergy medication. You are not strolling the Amalfi Coast.
Okay, I hear your judgment, I really do, but I also saw the delivery boxes piled up at your door before we sat down. So how many summer outfits did you buy today while pretending to be completely above it all?
I bought 3 matching linen sets, but I maintain that was a tactical acquisition. The humidity is rising, and I needed breathable fabrics to regulate my core temperature.
Sure.
Yeah.
You are just as delusional as I am.
Oh.
You are participating in the exact same fantasy. Because this is exactly the kind of weather needed to catch a yacht daddy this summer.
A yacht daddy. Okay, we need to pause and unpack this specific internet lexicon. The term gets thrown around constantly on social media, but what actually qualifies someone as a yacht daddy?
Oh, I have a list.
Is it purely the possession of aquatic real estate, or is there a specific psychological profile we are looking for here?
It is a highly specific psychological profile. There is a whole ideal rich man starter pack.
Right.
First of all, he needs to have linen pants that are perfectly tailored but look slightly wrinkled so you know he is relaxed and doesn't care about the rules.
Naturally.
He needs to have an offshore account that he only casually complains about when the Wi-Fi drops. He needs to smell like cedarwood, bergamot, and expensive decisions.
Expensive decisions, wow.
And crucially, he has to sit down at an upscale restaurant, look at the menu, and just tell the waiter, we'll take the entire left side.
But here's where we need to ask the difficult questions.
Yeah.
Could you, or anyone listening right now, genuinely date a rich man seriously?
Honestly, yes.
Let's strip away the romance of the linen suit for a second. Are we looking for a financial provider, or are we looking for an emotional project? Because rich men are notoriously emotionally exhausting.
Are they really worse than broke men, though? Like, seriously?
In a different way, yes, because the psychology of extreme wealth often stunts emotional development. When you can throw a black Amex card at literally any problem that arises, you never develop the conflict resolution skills required to navigate a functioning relationship.
Ooh, that is a read.
They use capital as a substitute for having a personality or going to therapy. Are you prepared for that?
I mean, I could suffer on a yacht. I really believe I could cry in a cabana and be completely okay.
You say that now?
I feel like I have the emotional fortitude to handle a man who doesn't know how to express his feelings, as long as his primary love language is expressing those repressed emotions by purchasing me a Cartier love bracelet. I'm just putting that out into the universe.
You say that with such confidence right now, but you will be singing a very different tune when he tells you he cannot emotionally commit to you right now, because his tech startup is in a critical Q3 growth phase. And then he proceeds to gaslight you from international waters where U.S. laws don't apply.
Okay, wait. You are ruining the hot girl summer fantasy with your relentless logic. We need to pivot before I start spiraling about emotionally unavailable men who do not even exist in my life yet.
Probably for the best.
It is time for your completely unqualified weekly horoscopes.
Excellent. My favorite segment. The absolute pinnacle of scientific inquiry. Proceed with the cosmic chaos.
I am tapping into the chaotic cosmos just for you. First up, Gemini. Babes, This week, you are going to experience a sudden, completely unearned burst of delusional confidence.
Yeah.
You are going to look in the mirror, think, I am utterly untouchable, and then immediately make a terrible financial choice.
Of course.
I am talking about buying an unnecessary Birkin bag that you absolutely cannot afford, or booking a spontaneous flight to Ibiza on a Tuesday afternoon just because you liked an Instagram reel. Do it. The stars literally demand it.
So your advice to Geminis is rapid financial ruin fueled by unchecked narcissism. Fascinating astrological interpretation.
The stars said what they said.
It perfectly mirrors the Housewives' approach to budgeting, frankly.
It is what the universe dictates. Next up, Scorpio. Oh, you messy, messy Scorpios.
Yeah, we are.
The planetary alignment is practically begging you to drunk text. You are going to get exactly 2 sips into a spicy margarita, and you will feel the overwhelming, uncontrollable urge to flirt with a toxic ex who absolutely ruined your life in 2019.
Please do not do this.
You will also find yourself at the dead center of a petty argument at brunch about how to split the bill. My tip for you, just block everyone. Block the ex, block the friends, block the waiter. Peace is found in a blocked contact list.
If we apply the analytical rigor of a true crime conspiracy theory to these astrology predictions, the Scorpio forecast implies a deep-seated self-sabotage mechanism that is specifically triggered by agave.
Wow. Okay, Dr. Freud.
You are predicting that they will actively seek out the source of their past trauma under the guise of casual flirtation. I highly recommend they stick to sparkling water and perhaps a downgrade to a flip phone for the week.
Hey, I am just the messenger. And finally, Taurus. You are usually so grounded, so stable. But babes, the summer chaos is coming for you too.
No one is safe.
You are going to hear a piece of gossip so earth-shattering, so nuclear, that you physically cannot hold it inside your body. You will spread it.
Oh, 100%.
You will cause a massive rift in your social circle. And when you are inevitably confronted about it, you will expertly play the victim. It is your time to be the villain. Embrace the spiral.
I feel like you are just projecting your own ideal weekend plans onto the zodiac calendar, but I will allow it for the sake of the narrative.
I am deeply emotionally attached to the accuracy of these readings. Mark my words, there's a Taurus out there ruining a group chat as we speak. But alas, unfortunately, the upcoming work week is approaching. And babes, dentistry is still dentistry.
The brutal, unavoidable transition back to reality. The capitalist machine waits for no one, not even on the Snark side.
Let's do our highs and lows for the work week ahead. My low is purely emotional.
Go ahead.
It is just the profound mental toll of waking up on a Monday, remembering that I am an adult with a profession, and having to perform the act of surviving the week.
Performing the act.
The
yeah.
emotional labor of putting on scrubs and pretending I don't want to just be on a beach catching a yacht daddy is a really heavy burden. It takes acting skills.
My high is incredibly simple, highly mathematical, and deeply cynical.
Color me shocked.
It is currently Sunday evening, which means I am already systematically counting down the hours until next Friday at 5 o'clock.
Oh my God.
Every single passing second is a tiny victory. That is my high. The literal passage of time bringing me closer to the cessation of labor.
We are so incredibly damaged by the 40-hour work week.
Okay. From the delusion of our personal hot girl summer to the absolute unfiltered delusion of this Dallas cast trip, let's get into this recap.
Let's begin with the Sprinter van whiplash, because what we witnessed in those first 5 minutes of the trip is something that should be thoroughly studied in abnormal psychology classes.
I was screaming. I was emotionally, physically, viscerally reacting to my television screen.
It was a lot to process.
We pick up exactly where we left off from last week, and Kelly and Porsha are just going at it. Porsha is sitting there, deadpan, looking completely serious, claiming that after the Grenada trip, they were all in Miami.
Right, the Miami shower incident. She says Kelly saw her getting out of the shower, and that Kelly literally looked at her and said she wanted a taste.
Okay, let's analytically break down the defense mechanisms deployed here, because it is a masterclass in deflection.
It really is.
Kelly's immediate counter-argument is, I don't like women, and if I did, it wouldn't be you.
Why?
This is a classic reality television double tap. It's not just a defense, it's an offensive maneuver. She is saying, I am straight, but even if we remove my heterosexuality from the equation, you fundamentally lack the appeal to attract me.
The shade of it all.
It is designed to dismantle Porsha's ego. But what is truly fascinating is Porsha's reaction. Porsha doesn't defend her own attractiveness. She immediately pivots. She completely abandons the Miami shower narrative and goes straight for the jugular, accusing Kelly of sleeping with a married man for absolutely no money.
For no money. Which, in the bizarre economy of the Housewives universe, is somehow the ultimate unforgivable insult.
The cardinal sin.
You can have an affair, but if you aren't getting a Birkin out of it, you've disgraced the sisterhood. But the sheer audacity and hypocrisy of this attack, we all know Porsha's track record. We have all read the blogs.
So y'all have the internet.
Porsha is throwing boulders from a glass house that is currently sitting directly on a tectonic fault line. And then Kelly snaps back and calls Porsha a chili cheese Frito. I physically fell off the couch. A chili cheese Frito, what does that even mean?
It is an olfactory insult, and it is devastatingly specific. When you insult someone's smell, you are bypassing intellect and going straight to a primal, visceral level of disgust.
Oh, absolutely.
Calling someone chili cheese Frito implies a heavily processed, artificial, slightly stale odor. It's an attack on her hygiene, her class, and her refinement all at once. But what's truly fascinating here is the pivot that happens immediately after.
Oh my gosh, the pivot.
The absolute emotional whiplash. These two women go from throwing these visceral, life-ruining insults, accusing each other of home-wrecking and smelling like stadium food, to suddenly bonding over a rose toy vibrator.
Literally 10 seconds later, they are screaming about married men. And then suddenly they're talking about how they only need 10 seconds with the rose toy to reach climax.
It is jarring.
And Cynthia's chiming in from the back. And Shamea is loudly declaring that she wet the bed and had to throw her mattress out, which, by the way, Shamea, I love you, but TMI, please reel it in.
Definitely an overshare.
But they are laughing. They are a sisterhood again. How is that even physically possible?
It completely defies all conventional logic. I compare the Housewives' ability to pivot from deep-seated, venomous hatred to casual vibrator talk to the emotional whiplash of a hostage negotiation suddenly turning into a middle school slumber party.
That is exactly what it felt like.
One minute you have got a metaphorical weapon drawn, the next minute you are braiding each other's hair and talking about your crushes. It is a masterclass in extreme compartmentalization. They understand that to survive the enclosed space of a Sprinter van, you must be able to turn off your anger like a light switch, or the tension will literally suffocate you.
It is terrifying, but I deeply respect the survival instinct. So they finally get off the Sprinter van of doom and go to dinner in Dallas. And, babes, I have to take a moment to express my deep physical sympathy for Pinky Cole.
Pinky was in the trenches of biological warfare.
She didn't eat all day because the lunch restaurant they went to earlier had absolutely zero vegan options. So she has been running on fumes, she is starving, and then she sits down at dinner and starts drinking Cynthia Bailey's tequila on a completely empty stomach.
A rookie mistake?
That tequila absolutely destroyed her system. She was throwing up everywhere. She had on blue medical shoe covers while vomiting in the bathroom. I was laughing, but I was crying for her at the same time. Wearing hospital booties while hugging a public toilet is not the hot girl summer vibe we were aiming for.
And this incident raises a very important question about Cynthia's etiquette as a host. Because Cynthia comes back to the dinner table and basically announces to the group, Pinky is currently vomiting, but I want to get this dinner over with because I do not want her throwing up inside the Sprinter van on the way back to the house.
So brutal.
We have to evaluate this. Was that deeply shady? Was Cynthia being a terrible host by prioritizing her transportation timeline over her guests' acute medical distress? Or was she just being a highly practical, unsentimental hostess, making sure Pinky was safely confined to a stationary bathroom with a ginger ale until the worst had passed?
Honestly, I think Cynthia is just universally tired. She is tired of these women, she is tired of the logistics, and she does not want a biohazard in her luxury rental vehicle. I completely understand her.
She was protecting her peace and her upholstery.
Exactly. But while Pinky is fighting for her life in the bathroom, the defining moment of the trip happens, the oyster incident.
The microscopic catalyst for the entire episode's collapse.
Porsha is sitting at the table. She picks up an oyster, inspects it like she is a professional gemologist looking for flaws, and proudly declares to the table that it looks like a, quote, clean, merry vagina.
A sequence of words that should never, under any circumstances, be uttered in a fine dining establishment.
Never. And the camera instantly cuts to K. Michelle's face. And you have to understand, K. Michelle looks like she has just seen a ghost. The color literally drains from her face.
She was activated immediately.
Because, and this requires you to know some deep Bravo fan lore, there was an 8-year-old rumor from K. Michelle's ex-boyfriend, the rapper Mano. He went on a very public radio show 8 years ago, and said some deeply derogatory, humiliating things about K. Michelle's personal hygiene in that specific anatomical area.
Right, the infamous interview.
And K. Michelle instantly, without a single second of hesitation, assumes Porsha is directly referencing this 8-year-old rumor.
I have to severely push back on this logic. Let's look at the variables at play here. We are being asked to assume that Porsha Williams, a woman who famously once thought the Underground Railroad was an actual functioning locomotive train, has the mental Rolodex and the strategic genius to pull a subliminal, highly specific shade reference from an obscure 8-year-old hip-hop radio interview and then flawlessly deploy it as a double entendre over a plate of seafood.
Right. Like, no offense to Porsha, but come on.
Is Porsha really that much of an evil, calculating mastermind? Or is K. Michelle just heavily projecting her own deep, unhealed trauma and public humiliation onto a completely mindless, crude comment about a bivalve?
Exactly. Like, Porsha's just trying to be funny and gross. She is probably just responding to the chili cheese Frito comment from earlier and trying to prove that her anatomy is clean.
It was purely defensive posturing on Porsha's part.
But K. Michelle takes it as a highly coordinated sniper attack on her character. But wait, it gets even messier, because then we have the Blakk tatted drama erupting right at the same table.
Ah, yes, the battle of the direct messages.
K. Michelle completely pivots and confronts Drew. She says, I have been standoffish with you because you were trying to make it look like I am romantically linked to Blakk Tatted, the CEO of Black Smoke.
And he was very much involved.
And K. Michelle is going off, raising her voice, saying, I have a whole husband. Blakk Tatted is just in my DMs liking my sister's stuff. We are not together.
But if we bring in the receipts, the deep web Bravo fan knowledge that we all consume, Blakk literally sent a direct message to K. Michelle saying, holy STK. God damn. That is not politely liking a sister's photo. That is a highly aggressive, unmistakably romantic digital approach.
Exactly. He was shooting his shot. But look at Drew's reaction to this confrontation. Drew just shrugs and is like, girl, I said you guys knew each other one time on the bus. I do not care if he's in your DMs. He is a single man. He is in everyone's DMs, and we are not exclusively together.
Which is a fascinating defense mechanism from Drew, considering the deep dive on Drew's love life we have been forced to witness. Drew and Blakk are firmly entrenched in this friends with benefits gray area. We have seen them cuddle. We have seen them hold hands. He bought her dozens of roses.
So many roses.
But Drew is using the legal technicality of her messy, highly publicized 3-year divorce with Ralph Pittman, the infamous basement dweller, to claim she is completely unbothered by Blakk sliding into other women's DMs. She is feigning apathy to protect her pride.
But do we honestly think K. Michelle is blowing this entirely out of proportion just to secure a storyline for the season? Because Drew really did only mention her knowing Blakk one single time. Why is K. Michelle acting like Drew took out a massive billboard on the highway in Atlanta saying K. Michelle is having an extramarital affair?
It is classic reality television survival tactics. K. Michelle is a veteran of this genre. She knows that to secure screen time, she needs an anchor conflict. But she is overplaying her hand, creating a conspiracy where there is only a coincidence. Which brings us perfectly to the psychological thriller that occurred the next morning. The paranoia breakfast.
Oh my God. The morning after breakdown, I was emotionally exhausted just watching these women attempt to eat eggs.
The eggs looked quite dry, honestly.
The scene starts off so normal. The girls come downstairs, they are fresh-faced, they look gorgeous in their silk pajamas, the scrambled eggs actually look decent, and the energy is incredibly light. Then, K. Michelle slowly descends the stairs and immediately sucks all the oxygen out of the room.
It was palpable. It's like a Dementor from Harry Potter walked into the rental kitchen and drained the will to live from every woman present.
She sits down heavily at the table. Angela asks her one simple, polite question about feeling safe in the house, and K. Michelle instantly bursts into tears. She starts crying hysterically about a massive plot to take her down.
And let us carefully dissect the anatomy of this paranoia. She claims, so tears, that she received a phantom phone call in the middle of the night. This mysterious, unnamed caller supposedly warned her that Porsha, Phaedra, and Drew are actively, covertly scheming to use the Blakk-tatted DMs and the 8-year-old odor rumor as weapons to destroy her reputation.
Which is wild.
And I must point out the sheer, undeniable absurdity here. None of this happened on camera. There is zero footage of this plot being formed. K. Michelle is acting like she is a test subject in the Stanford prison experiment, fighting psychological warfare against invisible guards that she herself invented.
She is literally sitting there, sobbing, looking at the table and saying, you know who you are. but she absolutely refuses to name names. It was making everyone at the table crazy.
It was maddening.
Porsha is sitting there, totally bewildered, saying, "Who are you talking about? Just tell me." And K. Michelle is just sobbing into her napkin and talking in cryptic riddles.
Which is precisely where Angela, the resident bone collector of the group, flawlessly executes her role in the ecosystem.
It was the absolute highlight of the breakfast.
Angela is sitting there, quietly eating, watching this meltdown occur. She realizes the group is at an impasse. So she immediately shifts the heat. She looks directly across the table and calls out Shemea's microexpressions. She says, "Shemea, I am watching your face right now, and you know exactly what is going on here."
Oh, she did not hold back.
It was a brilliant, messy, highly tactical strike to protect the core group, the established Peaches, by throwing a newer Plum directly under the wheels of the bus.
And I have to strongly defend Shemea here. I really do. Shemea says the group manipulates and fabricates, but she refuses to betray K. Michelle's confidence right there at the table. Because, as we find out, K. Michelle actually called Shemea and Pinky privately into her room the night before and told them all about this so-called plot.
The late-night summit.
Shemea knew everything, but she was just being a loyal friend by keeping her mouth shut in front of the firing squad.
I will analyze Shanae's behavior very differently. Shemea was sitting at that table making highly visible, theatrical, Jim Carrey-level facial expressions. You cannot aggressively mime your internal monologue to a room full of cameras and then claim you are staying out of the drama.
Okay, her face was doing a lot.
You are communicating without speaking. Angela brilliantly called her bluff.
And that single moment completely shatters the entire group dynamic. We get the Great Divide. The Peaches versus the Plums. I was spiraling about the literal physical split that happens in this luxury rental house.
It was heavily geographical.
You have the Peaches, Porsha, Angela, Phaedra, Drew, and Cynthia huddled together in the primary bedroom like they are the plastics in Mean Girls, whispering and plotting. And then you have the Plums, K. Michelle, Kelly, Pinky, and Shemea, banished to the outside patio, sweating in the Dallas heat.
Let's break down the parallel epiphanies happening in those two isolated spaces because it is sociological gold. Inside the air-conditioned bedroom, the Peaches conclude that Shemea is the hidden mastermind. They theorize that Shemea is putting a battery in K. Michelle's back, using K. Michelle as a blunt instrument because Shemea is still secretly, deeply furious at Porsha over the fallout of their own friendship.
All the layers.
Meanwhile, outside on the patio, the Plums are developing their own theory. They believe the Peaches are this highly organized, impenetrable mafia operating solely to protect Porsha from taking any accountability for her actions.
It is exactly like a geopolitical proxy war.
It is the Cold War of Bravo. The two massive superpowers, Porsha and Shemea, absolutely refuse to fight each other directly because the mutual destruction would be too great. Instead, they are funding and arming the rebel factions, Drew and K. Michelle, to fight the war on their behalf. It is high-level geopolitical maneuvering, just executed with mimosas in hand.
And while all this geopolitical maneuvering is happening in the house, we find out K. Michelle posted a highly cryptic subtweet right before she came down to breakfast.
The timing of that tweet.
She tweeted, "If it takes a group, plot, a rumor, or a scheme to bring me down when I am coming in love, you already lost in the game. Babes, why are you subtweeting people on the internet that you're actively about to eat scrambled eggs with? Just say it to their faces."
Because she suffers from what I call confessional gangster syndrome. She is absolutely terrifying on Twitter, and she is incredibly bold when she's sitting alone in the interview chair talking to a producer. But the moment she is at a communal breakfast table, confronted with real-time pushback, she immediately resorts to crying and speaking in riddles. It is an inability to handle direct confrontation.
Well, the riddles definitely stopped at the Thong Bikini Summit.
A phrase that will undoubtedly haunt my professional resume for the rest of my life.
Babes, I lost my absolute mind over this scene. Shemea calls a highly serious, incredibly confrontational group meeting out by the pool, and she does it while wearing a tiny bikini top and a thong.
A true power move.
The absolute delusion of demanding professional respect and clearing your name while you are essentially naked in a thong. It was iconic.
It certainly established a dominant tone. Shemea gathers the UN General Assembly by the shallow end of the pool because she demands they stop making her the fall guy for K. Michelle's unchecked paranoia. She wants her name cleared.
And K. Michelle finally admits it. She says, okay, Shemea didn't spread the rumor, but the tension is already too high and the blowout finally happens. K. Michelle and Drew get into it. And babes, the moment this happens, K. Michelle's entire affect changes.
It was a total transformation.
Her accent suddenly shifts. She slips into her full, deep Memphis, Tennessee accent. She stands up, puffs her chest out, and loudly declares that she has plenty of men running around her, implying Drew is desperate for Black's attention.
Which is an incredible attempt at establishing dominance. But Drew, not missing a single beat, looks at her and tells her to go flow away MC Hammer and worry about her failing country music career instead of acting like she is still starring on VH1.
The TLC versus country music shade, it was lethal. But then, oh my God, K. Michelle delivers the ultimate kill shot. I gasped so loud my neighbor literally knocked on the shared wall to see if I was okay.
I'm not surprised.
K. Michelle looks screed, Drew in the eye, and screams, "Nobody wants to hear about that basement no more."
The basement. Pure, unadulterated shade, the kind of mess that alters timelines.
For anyone who might not know the deep lore, the basement is a direct, vicious reference to Ralph Pittman, Drew's soon-to-be ex-husband. During the darkest days of their marital issues, which was highly publicized, Ralph famously retreated to live in the basement of their house to avoid her.
A very public humiliation.
It was the absolute lowest of blows. K. Michelle essentially said, "I do not need a fabricated moment from you. You need to take a moment with yourself and deal with that grown man hiding in your basement."
It was a surgical strike on Drew's deepest vulnerability. And let's look at how Drew processes that trauma in real time. Her immediate reaction is to storm off, retreat to her private bedroom, and instantly FaceTime Blakk Tatted, who answers the phone completely shirtless in his own bed.
Obviously.
Drew is loudly claiming to K. Michelle that she does not care about this man, while simultaneously actively seeking emotional validation from the very man at the center of the dispute. It is textbook behavioral contradiction.
It is so incredibly messy. But we have to move on and talk about the Dynasty Gala, because the metaphorical Dallas storm we have been talking about suddenly became a literal meteorological event.
Please describe the ridiculous, almost offensive opulence of Cynthia's event for us, because the sheer scale of it was staggering to witness.
Cynthia decided to host this grand gala, and she brought in a private jeweler who loaned these women anywhere from $500,000 to millions of dollars in borrowed diamonds.
That's casual loaner jewelry.
They were walking around wearing these massive, heavy statement necklaces, carrying crocodile Birkins, the whole 9 yards. They had so much borrowed, uninsured wealth on their bodies that they required an actual lights-flashing police escort for the Sprinter van just to get from the rental house to the venue.
Which is precisely when nature decided to violently humble them. The hubris of man meets the reality of the climate.
I was laughing hysterically at the television. They are dripping in millions of dollars of diamonds. They are headed to this beautifully curated outdoor gala, and a literal, actual hurricane passes through Dallas.
The irony is delicious.
The event planner, JC, is on the phone with Cynthia, literally crying tears of despair. The entire outdoor setup gets completely rained out, high winds, torrential downpour, and the women are driving in the Sprinter van straight into the eye of the storm.
But against all odds, they managed to pivot the event indoors. And the visual contrast of the party was fascinating from a sociological standpoint. You have these women dressed in immaculate ball gowns, wearing diamonds worth the gross domestic product of a small island nation. And what do they decide to do to save the evening? They start swag surfing.
Swag surfing in millions of dollars of diamonds. It was the most beautiful, chaotic, authentically Atlanta moment I have ever seen. The joy was palpable. And then Cynthia decides to get on the microphone. She holds up this massive, bedazzled Tequila Queen crown. She announces to the room that she is going to crown one of the women as the ultimate winner based on who gets the loudest cheers. But then she panics and makes everyone share the crown.
It was peak millennial participation trophy energy. She forced a group of grown, highly competitive women to share a single tiara just to prevent them from initiating physical combat in their ball gowns. It was a desperate, transparent plea for peace from a hostess who was completely thoroughly over her guests and just wanted to go to sleep.
And the absolute cherry on top of this disastrous cake, the late arrival.
Yes, Drew.
Drew finally shows up to the gala at 10:30, 3 full hours late. The gala is effectively over, the venue is emptying out, people are literally walking out the door with their coats on, and Drew strolls in, fully dressed, complaining of a pounding headache.
Just unbelievable.
Girl, if your head hurts that badly, just stay home with your ibuprofen and your shirtless FaceTime calls. Why did you even put the ball gown on in the first place?
She put the ball gown on because she needed to fulfill her contractual filming obligation for the episode. If she doesn't show up, she doesn't get paid. But she executed the absolute bare minimum required by Bravo Legal. She clocked in, complained, and clocked out.
Oh my gosh, this entire trip was emotionally exhausting. Which brings us to the most important part of the discussion, our segments. Segment 1, biggest housewives delusion. We need to define who is living in the most alternate reality this week.
The floor is yours, but I think we both have incredibly strong contenders for this award.
I am arguing passionately for K. Michelle. Hands down, no contest. She is completely fighting invisible demons.
She certainly.
She is reading into basic oyster jokes. She is taking 8-year-old radio rumors and aggressively applying them to a seafood dinner. She's getting phantom phone calls in the middle of the night that no one else can verify, and she is treating a luxury tequila vacation like she's trapped in a psychological thriller. That is the very definition of clinical delusion.
I hear your argument, but I must counter with Drew. K. Michelle is paranoid, yes, but Drew's delusion is rooted in sheer, unadulterated audacity.
Okay, make your case.
Thinking you can show up to a highly produced, heavily funded gala 3 hours late as the catering staff is literally sweeping the floors, complain about a minor headache, and still act like you are an active, contributing part of the cast trip. That requires an alternate reality where time, respect, and professionalism simply do not exist.
Okay, that is a very fair point. The audacity was high. Segment 2, Peach Holder of the Week. Who actually put in the work and earned their peach tonight?
This is a complex evaluation. There are many shifting alliances.
I nominate Cynthia. Cynthia Bailey earned her peach, her paycheck, and a year-end bonus.
She did host the whole thing.
She kept her composure while her cast fought viciously on a Sprinter van. Her friend literally threw up in a public bathroom while wearing medical shoe covers, and a literal hurricane ruined her outdoor gala that cost God knows how much money. And through all of that disaster, she still managed to get them all to smile and swag surf. That is what true leadership looks like under pressure.
I deeply respect the Cynthia nomination, but my peach holder of the week is Angela.
Of course it is.
Angela sat back, quietly ate her scrambled eggs, absorbed the absolute chaos happening around her, and flawlessly set a fire under Shamia with one single, perfectly calibrated sentence about her facial expressions. She didn't have to raise her voice, she didn't have to cry, she didn't have to stand up. She just lobbed a verbal grenade across the breakfast table and calmly went back to chewing her food. That is elite, veteran housewife behavior. She manipulated the entire scene without breaking a sweat.
Ugh, you always love a bone collector. You love this subtle manipulation. Segment 3. Most likely to start drama in public. Which housewife would absolutely ruin a nice Sunday brunch?
I think we have a clear, undeniable consensus on this one.
It is absolutely K. Michelle. We are completely aligned on this.
Think about the mechanics of how her mind works. If the waiter brings the wrong type of toast to the table, let's say she specifically asked for sourdough and they accidentally bring wheat, she will not assume it was a simple kitchen error. She will instantly assume it is a highly coordinated, malicious takedown plot orchestrated by the hostess, the executive chef, and a Bravo producer. She will start crying at the table, she will refuse to name the type of bread she actually wanted, and then she will post a cryptic subtweet about it before the check even arrives.
She will look at the waiter and scream, "You know what kind of toast you are."
Exactly.
Okay, our final segment, segment 4, Hot Girl Summer Ranking. We need to officially rank which housewives are giving the strongest Hot Girl Summer energy on this Dallas trip.
I will start at the absolute bottom. The bottom tier of Hot Girl Summer energy is firmly and unfortunately occupied by Pinky Cole. Experiencing severe nausea, acute dehydration, and wearing blue medical shoe covers inside a luxury Texas rental house is the exact antithesis of Hot Girl Summer. It is not thriving. It is, I need a Pedialyte and an emergency IV drip summer.
Poor Pinky, she really went through it. Okay, the middle tier. I am putting Drew solidly in the middle. FaceTiming a man who is shirtless in his bed while you are actively avoiding a massive group conflict. That is very close to Hot Girl Summer energy. It's messy, it's flirtatious, it's avoidant, but having a pounding headache and showing up 3 full hours late to the main event completely ruins the vibe. Hot Girl Summer requires physical stamina. You cannot be tired.
Which leaves the top spot, the apex of the aesthetic.
The top spot undeniably goes to Shamea. Calling a highly confrontational, high-stakes HR meeting by the side of the pool, aggressively demanding respect and clearing your name of all charges, all while wearing a tiny song bikini. That is peak, unfiltered Hot Girl Summer delusion. She essentially said, "Look at the body and listen to my truth."
It was a visual filibuster. She used her near nudity to disarm her opponents. You cannot effectively argue with a woman who is that confident in her own skin while exposing that much of it. It is brilliant power play.
I absolutely live for it. Well, you, our favorite member of the Snark Squad, that is our breakdown of the Dallas storm. Thank you for hanging out and drinking rosé with us. You are the absolute best part of our week.
It has been a thorough psychological education as always.
Now, we have a very important question for you. Get in the comments and let us know, which housewife do you think is spiraling the hardest right now? Is it K. Michelle and her phantom phone call paranoia? Or is it Drew and her deeply repressed basement trauma? We need to hear your hot takes.
And if you enjoyed us breaking down this psychological warfare, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Yes, do all the things. And as you go about your week, whether you are dodging an ex's toxic DM or just trying to survive the emotional labor of your job until Friday at 5, I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over.
Give it to them.
When we look at these women screaming over oysters and 8-year-old rumors, we have to ask ourselves, are we watching reality? Or are we just watching people traumatized by their own self-awareness of being perceived? Are they fighting each other, or are they just fighting the cameras? Think about it. Stay shady, stay messy.
And we will see you on the Snark side.